decoupage. I'm going to go to this side, it's smoother. Some Bats on Orange tissue paper onto this little rectangle plaque. And so I like to use Deco Arts Decoupage Medium in the matte. So I'm going to start here on one end and just give myself a little coat. Now this is tissue paper. It's not going to require a whole mess of decoupage to get it on there. So if you don't get it straight, really, that's okay. Another reason to add interest, right? So I'm just going to decoupage this paper on here. I kind of do it a little section at a time and rub it smooth. I love using tissue paper to add interest to my background. It's a whole lot easier than painting this background and painting all those little bats on there. And if you don't have this tissue paper, you're welcome to use whatever tissue paper you have. I do sell this on my website, and there's enough tissue paper you get for $1 that you could do 4 of these plaques with it if you're so inclined. I don't usually like to paint more than one of anything. All right. So there we go. And I used an old flat brush that I had to apply my decoupage. I'm going to go ahead and dry this a little bit. All right, so this is decoupaged on there, and I like to use an emery board or a nail file to remove the excess tissue paper. Get that off there so we have a nice edge. Comes off pretty clean. All right, there we go. Nice background to work on. So now what I want to do is I want to use my Stays On Jet Black permanent ink pad and just some rubber stamps that I have in my stash. I'm going to use an alphabet one, a crackle one, and I have this little spider web thing. And I'm just going to add some stamping to the background. And there's no rhyme or reason to how this gets stamped. Okay. I just want to add some little sections of rubber stamps. All right, at least 3 spots. You could do more. In fact, I might, just because I can. All right, and then I'm going to add some of this spider web. So if you have any stamps in your stash, go ahead and use those. If you have Halloween, that's even better. But if you don't have Halloween, just about anything will work. I guess I could have stamped that the right way. Well, which way does it? Okay, I think it goes this way. All right, and keep in mind some of this is going to get covered up, so it doesn't matter if you get the whole thing stamped on there or not. Now, I always like this crackle stamp, and they have some of these available on Amazon, so check it out. I just like the way it looks. On there. So there we go. Just stamp away. Crackle doesn't really matter how many you stamp. I just like it because it makes it kind of look old. All right. Here again, I'm stamping away and half of this is going to get covered up anyway. So I've succeeded in adding a little bit of interest to my background with some rubber stamps and the Stays On jet black ink pad. But now I want to burnish the edges of this piece with the ink pad, and so I'm just going to take the ink pad itself and run it around the edge of this piece. And depending on how far you lean it up will determine how much burnishing you get on there. And I just like the way it makes the side edges look a little creepy. So quick and easy all the way around. You could do this with like a sponge and lamp black paint. But as long as you have the stamp pad here, you might as well use that. All right, and what's great about this ink is it's not going to get activated by water. Okay, so there we go. We've added a lot of interest to our background, okay? Even though we're not going to see the background a whole lot, I still wanted to have some of that interest added to the background. And now what we're going to do is we are going to get out some moon yellow and some heritage brick. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a large flat brush. This is a 1-inch. No water in my brush because I want it to be kind of dry brushed. I'm just going to take this moon yellow and I'm going to slap it through the center of this plaque. Just to lighten it up a little bit and lighten up the area where the lettering is going to be. And I also love the way it picks up the wrinkles in the tissue paper. Okay, and maybe a little bit more. It's probably a mistake, but nah, it worked out. Okay, so the next thing we want to do is we want to float some shading around the outside edge of this plaque with heritage brick. It's just a nice color on that orange. And have no fear, the black is still going to show through. So just a quick float of heritage brick. You might think it doesn't make a difference, but it really does. And it doesn't have to take forever to do it. All right, cool. So moving right along. Now, what I want you to do is I want you to put the pattern on for the lettering. Now, I just happen to have this stencil. So I'm going to use the stencil just to, well, that's not got the edge broken. I'm just going to use it to trace on the lettering. If you have to put it on with the pattern, that's okay. You just gonna want to know where this lettering is for the next step. And trust me, I tried this with the lettering already based in, and it just didn't look right. So this is what works the best. And of course, the stencil's for sale on the website. I just need to kind of know where the lettering is. I don't need to know where it is, perfectly. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to get out some warm white, because what I want to do is I want to add what I'm calling in my pattern packet speed streaks. I want to add these streaks of warm white to make it look like the letters are moving. And I'm going to do that with thinned warm white and my 1/2 inch rake brush or comb. Let's see if I can find it. So this is a comb because it's by Royal. Low Cornell, they call them rake brushes. And it's like using a bunch of little liners. So you want to use liner consistency paint. You want to load your brush up, blot it out just like you would your liner brush. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to start pulling these streaks across here. And you can start them inside the lettering, and that way you'll cover up the little hard edge that you get. And let's see, where else? We need to have some come off of the R. And you see I'm pulling them. They're going way beyond the letter into the other letters, but that's okay. We don't want to have a hard stop. Okay? So let's see, this R. I'm going to go right up here and pull some. I guess if you didn't have the lettering on, you'd still be able to figure this out. But we just want to add some streaking across here to give it the idea of movement. I want another little bit there. And let's go here and here. Just kind of spread it around. Just make sure it's coming off of the letters, not just off of out of the middle of nowhere. All right? And you can put as much as you want. And if you need to go back over it and make it a little bit more prominent, that's okay too. Just think like a speeding bullet or something like that. All right. I think that's good for now. And maybe not. Okay. So I think that's good for now. So I've got quite a few streaks on there. So now you can paint your lettering on or stencil it on. And that's going to be done with lavender. So because I'm lazy, I am going to stencil my lettering on. So just kind of, if you bought the stencil, you'll have this done in no time. And I am going to use a cosmetic sponge, one of the wedges, to stencil this on, just because they're larger areas, and I can do it quite quickly with this. slowly but surely we'll get this stenciled on there. Okay, last letter. And yes, it's not opaque. There is a lot of stuff that goes on top of this lettering, so it doesn't have to be completely opaque. Okay. Looks pretty good, but as always, when I stencil lettering, I always like to get rid of the little bridges that are in there. So I'm going to go through and paint in the little bridges. Just with a quick coat. Of lavender, just to fill in those bridges. And doesn't that lettering look better? I've seen some beautiful pieces painted, and then they used a stencil for the lettering and left the bridges in there, and it would just look so much more elegant and pretty. We just fill in the bridges. Sometimes leaving the bridges is good because that's the kind of look you want for your piece. But I rarely leave the bridges untouched. All right, doesn't that look so much better? And I can hear you saying, yes. And it looks like they're moving because of that streaking behind it. All right, so we want to let that lettering dry. So I'm going to come back after it's dry and we'll start doing some dry brush highlighting. All right, so we're going to do some highlighting on these letters, and that's going to be a dry brush of Purple Cow. So however you like to dry brush, I suggest you do it that way, because if it works for you, then that's all we need. So I'm going to go through the center of these letters and dry brush Purple Cow. Now when you get done, don't wash your brush out. We're just going to pick up some warm white and dry brush some brighter highlighting. And I scrubbed and took some of my paint off. So we'll just go back in there and highlight it a little bit better. And let's go through here. So just all through the center of each letter. All right, those letters are looking better already. So now, with my dirty brush, I'm just going to pick up some warm white to make a lighter value of purple cow. And I'm going to dry brush a little bit brighter highlight through the center of these letters. Just brighten them up and make them pop a little bit more. And there are a lot of steps to these letters, but they all go pretty quick. You know, I can't do anything really simple. But if you get your letters to a point where you really like them and you don't want to do any more to them, that's fine. It's your piece. Nobody will know until you tell them. All right. So now we are going to get out some dioxazine purple, and we're going to float shading all around the inside edge of each letter. And what I'm probably going to do is go through and do just hop around the letters so I don't wipe out any shading. You got lots of places you can go. And this is going to be on every edge, every letter. So kind of tedious, but all part of the program. It's what makes it look cute. All right, I'm going to go back to my V and get some more shading on it. And let's work on our R here, move it around. And kind of clean up the edges of your lettering too if you need to. Go to the other side of the O's. I'll actually have a couple letters done. Should put some music in here. All right. just do the best we can to blend that in. Which isn't doing very well, but yeah, it'll be okay. I bet the broom goes over that part. I'm going to go back here and finish off my V. And let's get this blended a little bit. And work on our R some more. You ever have one of those days? Almost done. Just a couple more spots on our M, and we can call this complete. Looks like I need to go across the bottom here. And right here. And I think that's going to do it. So now what we want to do is we want to get out some Irish moss and our liner brush. And this one is a #1 liner. And I'm going to outline each letter with a line of Irish moss. So stay up on the tip of your brush and as straight up and down as you can. And you'll find that it will go quite easy. So every edge of the letters gets an outline of Irish moss. Had to get Halloween colors on here somewhere. And purple and green look so good together. And lucky for you, you can just pause this video and you don't have to sit and watch me outline, or you can fast forward through it. every little detail just adds another layer of interest to this piece. And that's what we're looking for, an interesting piece. Not just cute, but interesting. Okay, last letter. Of course, it has the most little surfaces to cover. We've got just a few more things to do to this lettering. And then we can set it aside and work on our broom. Okay, now just go ahead and wipe that liner brush out and get into that moon yellow that you have on your palette. And we're just going to line a highlight on this green little border stripe. It doesn't go the whole length of the side of the edge, just kind of through the center of each little side. Including the bottoms. And then it just brightens that up even more. By the time we get done with this, your hand will have these letters memorized. Okay. A couple little more highlights and all right, so we want to come back with our dry brush and add a more definite, brighter highlight, and that's just with straight warm white. The last highlight we did was warm white with a little bit of purple cow in it. So now I just want to come on with straight warm white, and it's not going to go all over. It's just basically kind of in the top. And maybe a little bit right there. Just to brighten it up a little bit. Let's see, do I want a little bit here? looks pretty good. So now what we need to do is we need to get out some soft black. Excuse me while I clean out my dry brush. So soft black and your liner brush. And we are going to line a shadow to the top and left of each letter with thinned soft black. So I'm back to my liner brush. And I'm going to go across the top of this letter on the background, not on the letter, or on the green border, just above the letter. I mean, top and left. And that just makes the lettering stand out even more. And you think that would be enough, right? Whoops. Just got through telling you don't do it on the green border. And so what do? I put it on the green border. Okay. Let's see, we're going to go in here. And let's go around this top a little ways. And I think I want to take it down this corner just a little bit. So the O's get the left side. On the outside. And the right side on the inside. All right. And that just make them pop off the background. So top, left, and this is going to go across the top and down this left side. There's a little left side in here, and the left side right there. All right, now you think that would be enough, but no, it's not. I wanted to do a little bit more. So I'm going to come back with my flat brush, and I'm going to float shading on the background around these letters with floats of heritage brick. It's going to go right next to that green border and right next to the shadow that you put on. And it just adds another, I'm not going to say layer of interest, just another dimension to it. And it doesn't have to be a real neat float. It can be pretty choppy. And I'm going to go inside the R. See the difference between the letters now? It just helped to get them off the background again a little bit more. Okay, halfway through. And believe it or not, there's only one more thing to do. And we'll get there eventually. Last letter. I don't remember if I did right there. So I'm going to do it again, just in case I didn't. All right. Oh, I can feel it. We're getting close. All right. Now, what the next thing we're going to do is we're just going to float a little hint of fuchsia pop. And I'm not sure. I think you can see it. Just a little hint here and there on the letters of fuchsia pop. And what that's going to do is it's going to marry it to the ties that are on the broom head. And we just needed to pull this color into there a little bit just to marry them together. So fuchsia pop, which is a new color. If you don't have fuchsia pop, you could use royal fuchsia. That would work just fine. So I'm just going to do a side load float, but I'm going to blend it out a whole lot. And I'm going to come down one side of this V and across the bottom. I'll probably pull a little bit in here. And I know it doesn't show up a whole lot, but it does make a difference. I'm going to go down the back side of the R, go a little here in this his little stirrup. And I think he means a little bit just right there. But you can put it wherever you like. Oh, I'm just going to go up in this top left side and then down in the bottom. This guy's going to get it in the top left side too. And then again in the bottom of the letter. Now let's put a little bit to the right side of the center of the O. And then the M. I'm going to go down that back side. I'm going to put a little bit here, a little bit here, and then I'm going to go down this side and across the bottom a little bit. So I've just given it some little hints of that fuchsia pop so that it'll tie in with our broom. All right. So let's move along. We can set this aside to dry now. And we can get to work on our broom. All right, we're going to start working on our broom now. So the first thing we want to do is we want to fasten the handle with sable browns. It's kind of nice. You don't really have to put a pattern on this guy. Goober there. Just base in the whole thing with sable brown. And you know, while we let that dry, we might as well base in the head of the broom with moon yellow. Getting all kinds of colors out on our palette now. So let's go ahead and base that in. And you can just go right over where the ties are going to be. A little water in my brush. And it doesn't have to be opaque. We have lots of layers that go on top of this broom. It doesn't have to be neat. Just slap that moon yellow on there. All right, I'm gonna get out my handy dandy heat it gun and dry this. And I also want to give it just a little light sand. Okay, so now we're going to dry brush some highlighting on our handle with fawn. Oh, you might as well get out some warm white too if you can't get in yours. We're going to dry brush highlighting with fawn, and then we're going to pick up a little warm white on our dirty brush and dry brush some brighter highlighting. So I'm just going to dry brush through the center of this handle. And then I'm going to pick up a little warm white on my dirty brush. And I'm going to go for a little bit brighter highlight. Okay, cool. Looking good. You can wash out your brush. All right, now we are going to float shading on all four sides of this handle with burnt umber. I go here under the broom head. And I'm going to go in this tip of the broom. I might as well dry that so I can do the other sides without wiping this off. If you don't have one of these Ranger heated craft guns, you might want to invest in it. It's really a nice tool to have. See, I love it so much it looks like I kissed it, but I really didn't. All right, now we're going to go across the top with a nice little float of burnt umber. And I want to go across the bottom. Well, now it's the top. So both long edges get a little float of burnt umber. All right, now a liner brush. We want to add the wood grain to our handle. So liner brush and then burnt umber. We're going to just line some sketchy wood grain. And now, let me get a little closer here. All right, so I like to add knot holes. So I'm going to go, the way I do a knot hole is I start out on the tip of the brush, and then wherever I want a knot hole, I just smash it down and then drag it back up to the tip. Really easy. And then always to sell the look of the knot hole, I like to line above and below it. Don't get crazy with knot holes. So just add some wood grating and a couple of knot holes. And then what I want to do is I want to come back and I want to highlight some of this wood grating. So I'm going to take my liner brush and some thinned fawn. And I'm just going to kind of line right next to some of the wood grating that I did, and especially around the knot holes. It doesn't have to be every line that you did, but especially you want to drag this color around the knot holes to make them stand out a little bit more. Too much paint. Okay, very cool. Quick and easy wood grain. So now the next thing I want to do is I want to deepen the shading next to the broom head and just on the end of the handle with a float of soft black. Just deepen it up a little bit. Okay, so we can call the handle basically done now. And we're going to move on to the broom head. All right, we're going to work on this broom head. And so the first thing we want to do is we want to get out some honey brown. We're going to be using the burnt umber, the moon yellow, the warm white. So we just need to add honey brown to our palette. And we're going to start using our 1/2 inch rake or comb brush again. So that means you're going to thin that paint down to liner consistency. And honey brown, thinned honey brown. And what we're going to do is we are going to stroke on some straw. Doesn't have to be perfect. You can see I'm getting some mush there, but that's okay. I'm still not wiping out all of that moon yellow in the background. So I just want to quickly give this a little undercoat of honey brown. And now we want to let that dry, because if we went right on it now, it would just get mush. Okay, and then we're going to go with some burnt umber, some thin burnt umber. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to pull this darker straw out from where the ties are, where it's bunched together. A little bit more liquid in that. Not quite thin enough. So I'm going to just pull, and I'm going to pull it a little bit, like about 2/3 of the way through. Just to give myself some dark straw right around there. And the same thing on this other side. I actually want a little bit more in here. I don't want it to stop all in the same place. I don't want a line. Okay, so rinse that brush out. And now I'm going to pick up some thinned warm white. It's a quick and easy broom head. And I'm going to pull this from the tips, the outside edge, in towards the center. And the same thing on this edge. So I'm giving myself a highlight on the end of that broom head. That's looking pretty good. All right, now I'm going to wash the brush out again. What I want to do is I want to stroke just a little bit of thinned moon yellow back into this to bring some of the yellow back, although it doesn't look bad now. And I could probably leave it alone. But I'm just going to add a little moon yellow. Not a whole lot. And basically that's going to go through that center area. So there we go. We've got our straw in our broom head. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to work on this tie, or these ties. So you're going to need fuchsia pop. And again, if you don't have fuchsia pop, royal fuchsia will work just fine. And we have warm white. So now we need cranberry wine. Just a little bit. And I am going to take a round brush. This one is a 4. And I'm going to base in these ties with fuchsia pop. And I'm not going to wash this brush out. I'm just going to wipe it out a little bit. I'm going to pick up some warm white on that dirty brush. And I'm going to stroke on a highlight on my ties. And again, just wipe the brush out. I'm going to turn this over just to make it easier. I'm going to pick up a little cranberry wine. And I'm going to stroke on the shadow. So quick and easy ties. Okay, now the next thing I want to do is I want to come back to my broom head and I want to float some burnt umber shading on it. I'm going to go right next to the ties. And that's going to put my broom head behind the ties. On both sides. I also want to come up down the top and the bottom edge a little bit, just to round that broom head out a little bit. It does make a little difference. Okay. All right, I'm going to call this broom complete. So the only thing you have left to do is let everything dry. If you have any pattern lines, you want to remove them. And you're just going to glue your broom in place and add a wire hanger. And there you go. You've got a quick and easy little project for Halloween. Thanks for joining me. I appreciate it. And I'll see you next time.